mechanists, we can say, the material scientists, they introduced this idea that the subject simply doesn't exist, that there's only objects, and this gives rise to the conclusion, if you point a finger, that science is also going on simply according to physical interactions. It's just automatic. So then the question is, what's the meaning? What's the meaning in science? There's no meaning in life. There's no meaning in science either. If a scientist is talking, it's just physical reactions going on. You could listen to the wind in the trees or the frogs croaking. Same amount of meaning, according to their own logic. So this conclusion, obviously, it has serious implications both for science itself and for society. For science, it actually takes meaning out of science. It makes... admittedly, they have a huge body of from their objective observations, they've got a huge body of knowledge which is very useful up to a certain point. But the fact that it's useful doesn't mean to say that it gives meaning to life. In fact, this is a common observation that in modern material society there's meaninglessness. This is one of the big problems in modern society. So similarly, the fact that there's a lot of knowledge in material science, it doesn't mean to say that there's meaning there. Meaning means, where's it going? They don't know. It delivers a body of knowledge that's not consistent when it applies to itself, when it applies to consciousness. So it means that objective science can't tell us about the really important things in life. There's consciousness, our conscious experience. This is the first thing, that's about science itself. Now, we see that in modern society, the value of the individual is being reduced. The amount of individual freedom is being reduced. The values, human values, are being taken out of society. Why? Because science or scientism is the nub, it's the conceptual focus of society. And it is reducing the meaning of the individual. It's denying the meaning of the individual. So small wonder that the society which is built on that body of knowledge reduces the value of the individual. Let's talk about values. Values are subjective. Values are what I personally hold to be very important or sacred. But if I don't exist, if the subject doesn't exist, then where's the question of values? So objective science can't say anything about values. In fact, from one point of view, you could say it's valueless. Scientism is valueless. And as a state of consciousness, the scientists originally, they said, okay, we'll just deal with direct experience. And they did that. Like Galileo with his pendulums and so on. I mean, basically it's kitchen table stuff, more or less. But it's not kitchen table stuff anymore. Well, for example, a radio telescope or an array of radio telescopes is not kitchen table stuff. We don't have access to that. We don't have access to the apparatus, and we don't have access to the concepts. Similarly, a cyclotron, a nuclear accelerator, we can't do it. It takes a nation or even an ensemble of nations to produce something like that. We don't have access to that, and we don't have access to the concepts that come up. So it means that the scientists actually, they've become completely removed from direct experience. And they're dealing with concepts that have nothing at all to do with direct experience. They're in a world of their own, totally divorced from actual reality. What is that? It's psychosis. So from this we can see how this body of knowledge, which is acting as a focus and a foundation for society, is actually affecting the psyche of society. It's very, very unhealthy. And the only way to correct that is to reinstate the conscious self. The power of science comes from the conscious self. And honest scientists have admitted that the power of the universe, if you look with science at these aspects of the scientific process that I was talking about, conscious faculties, the body, matter, the appearance of the universe, honest scientists say that there's, not maybe in so many words, they say that there's an inconceivable potency. The way they say it is, well, it looks like design, it looks like creation. So the only way to reverse this trend in society is on the basis of logic, on the basis of honesty, integrity, is to bring the conscious self back into the center of science, back into the center of knowledge, and thus back into society, so that society should be aimed at giving real quality of life. And of course, from the Vedic point of view, quality of life means self-realization. Life means the conscious self. Quality of life means self-realization. Science should explain how we can find out who we really are, what is the real meaning of life, what is the real purpose of life, how we can find beauty, love, joy, and how society as a whole can satisfy the supreme self, the universal self, or the supreme personality. So these are some implications, important implications of the defect, how the defects in modern science or scientism are affecting society as a whole. One last point that's worth making. If you want to manipulate people as if they were dull matter, the easiest way of doing that is convince them that they're dull matter. So these materialistic theories are very, very convenient for social manipulation. If you teach people that they're not actually living beings, they're just lumps, the real meaning of life is to enjoy as much as you can and then die without fuss, and in the meantime become part of the social machine. It's a great way of keeping the business of society going at the expense of the value of life. Now, whether this is happening consciously or unconsciously, that's a matter for debate. Whether the appearance of science is just a natural development in like social evolution, or whether it's actually being deliberately, scientism is being deliberately promoted in order to manipulate society as a whole, that's a matter of another debate.